Assalamu alaikum, rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace and blessings upon each and everyone who hears or sees this video. I'm trying to reach A.K. Manning, a Christian friend of mine, who I refer to as the most Muslim Christian I know. And let's see if we can reach him here. Oh, let's try him again.
Hello.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
All right.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can. I can hear you fine. Can you see me and hear me fine?
You're good.
Great, great. Yeah, we was having some technical difficulties earlier, but alhamdulillah, we got it fixed. So, Ramadan. So let's pick up where we left off. Of course, this is a new video. The other one got deleted because of the technical issues, but I think we should be good now, inshallah, God willing. So let's go ahead and establish some things for anyone who may be listening who's unfamiliar with Islam, or for Muslims for that matter, who may have little knowledge about Christianity as well. So, of course, you and I both know that when we say Allah, we're talking about our God, our Creator. We've already discussed that earlier today, and of course, you and I knowing one another, we know where we stand with all of that. So, if listeners hear us refer to Allah, or we say Allah, or we say God, our Creator, or we're talking about the same, our God, our Creator, the Creator of Adam, alayhi salam, peace and blessing be upon Adam. So let's get right to it in regards to Ramadan. Ramadan for Muslims is the month in which the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him, began to receive the revelation of the Quran through the angel Gabriel from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our God, our Creator. And so we observe the fast in recognition of this, as well as the fact that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he used to fast. He would fast during that time. He would also fast every Monday and every Thursday, which is pretty tough on people. But alhamdulillah, it's actually good for you if people are able to fast that often. It's a constant reminder to us about a number of things that we'll discuss here in a moment. But as far as Ramadan goes, we do this once a year. Every Ramadan, and we fast. We do not eat or drink from the time the sun begins to rise until the sun goes down. And so, once again, no food, no drink, and we are making effort to abstain from things that is not good for us. Of course, if we can deny ourselves what we need most, which is food and water, then we should be able to deny ourselves of things that we don't need that may affect us in negative ways, and we'll talk more about that here in a second. So, from a Muslim standpoint, that's basically why we do this. It's one of the 5 pillars of Islam, so it's a requirement and obligation upon Muslims to fast every Ramadan, and once again, we do it for 30 days straight. It's actually goes by the lunar calendar, but it's offset about a month every year. So next year it will begin in April, whereas last year, of course, it was in June. Here we are in May at this point. So so tell me a little bit about fasting and Christianity, and then we'll proceed from there.
Okay. Christianity does things largely by biblical, example, and the Quran. the Bible doesn't prescribe directions usually on doing things, in some cases, but not in most cases. And so we just look at sort of models that are given, right? It's have a specific set of prescribed directions of when to fast or how to fast, but we look at different examples of when people would fast and for what reason and why, and kind of establish our habits for fasting on that. With that said, there's not a particular time of year or a particular date or season. There was, for the Jews, a fast day that they'd celebrate. We find that in a couple of places in the Old Testament. But even in the Old Testament, most of the time fasting was done. It was called on and done for a particular purpose. So Esther called a 3-day fast for her people. And that was a similar model to what you do in that there was no food or water. There was no food or drink at all. There will be few, if any, other examples in the Bible of people fasting without drink. But that was an example. Generally in the Bible, people are fasting either in repentance. They're really contrite and broken about their sin, and they fast for a while in an attitude of repentance, or because they're seeking direction on something, or because they're just trying to set their bodily needs aside to pursue their spiritual needs and pursue closeness to God. So that's generally how it's done. Most Christians will fast food for a period of time that they decide in advance, and commit the time that they would otherwise eat to prayer and seeking God.
Alhamdulillah. Yeah, so that's pretty much along the same lines as Islam. Of course, in Islam, we do it with what's called imanin waqtisabin, which is with faith and hope. Faith in the fact that we're doing it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first and foremost, and we're sacrificing ourselves and denying ourselves for the sake of Allah, meaning that we're trying to make ourselves even more obedient. In Islam, going to prayer 5 times a day, Islam is very, very disciplined in a lot of regards, many regards, all aspects of your life. And so during the month of Ramadan, it's supposed to even increase it anymore. So iman and waqtisab, and so in faith and hope. And we do this in the hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not that we don't have faith that He forgives us of our sins, but in hope that, you do. It's a means in which you're doing it. Once again, I guess the best way to describe it is for the sake of God. You're doing it for your relationship with God and to be in the obedience of God, and to seeking the pleasure of God, and our God, our Creator. And so the Quran actually says in the second surah, which is Surah Baqarah, the 183rd ayah or verse, it says, "O you who believe, fasting has been prescribed to you just as it was prescribed to those before you, that you may learn piety and righteousness." So it's making reference, of course, to the Jews and the Christians who were it was revealed to them to fast previously, and so so it is good for every individual. It's good mentally. It's good spiritually, first and foremost, spiritually, and physically. There's so many good things about it. And once again, if you can deny yourself the basic necessities, the things that we need the most, which is food and water, then we should be able to deny ourselves things that aren't healthy for us, whether it be something mental, it could be something physical, that maybe someone smokes, or maybe they overindulge when they eat, for that matter, or and of course the spiritual aspect of it. You're doing it for the sake of Allah. You're trying to better yourself in all aspects of who you are, mentally, physically, and it affects you, of course, spiritually by doing so, all for the sake of our God, our Creator, and our relationship with Him. And so the primary focus is when someone is fasting in Islam, that you're doing it not for show, of course, and of course in Christianity the same thing. You do it because it's your own personal sacrifice. It's your it's your time to focus on what it is within yourself that only you and Allah know about, our God, our Creator, you and only our God, our Creator knows about, that you could do better. Something that it might just simply be you overeat. You eat too much, or you have particular bad habits that you need to break yourself of, or maybe when you look upon a woman, I'm just using this as an example, you look a little bit too long. Well, during the month of Ramadan, or maybe you engage in conversation you shouldn't be engaged in, or use language that you shouldn't. Of course, if you're a God-fearing individual in Christianity and Islam, you're not supposed to be doing any of those things. So, of course, people are going to be people. People are going to fall short, and so it's an opportunity every year for a 30-day period to even go above and beyond and try to focus on being more obedient than you had been uh, prior to that particular month. And what it does is also help you establish and break your routine, break the dependency on whatever it is that you've been engaging in that you shouldn't, or whatever the issue your personal issues might be, to break those things and to basically get a fresh new start, starting all over again. Alhamdulillah, praise be to God for that opportunity. So
There's there's two parts that as you were talking about that I wanted to touch on. One that you brought up specifically, that would be in common between Islam and Christianity, and that is fasting not being for show, right?
yeah,
And I brought up, in several cases in the Bible, fasting was being used during a time of contrition or remorse, and uh, people would actually put on sackcloth and ashes, and you know, in just the spirit of brokenness, like I'm nothing. It would be the opposite of wearing your best suit. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and then eat nothing and go around, and a habit started to develop among people of making a show of this. Of, look how holy I am. I'm neglecting myself. That sort of
yeah.
thing. Where silly. And so Jesus gave these instructions, and this is something most Christians will have heard before. Muslims might not have, but it sounds like it's in line with what Muslims would do as well. It says, moreover, when you fast, do not be like the hypocrites with a sad countenance, for they disfigure their faces that they may appear to men to be fasting.
Right.
Assuredly, I say to you, they have their reward. But when you fast, anoint your head and wash your face. So basically, you get cleaned up,
Yeah.
put your cologne on if you got it, that kind of thing. So that you will not appear to men to be fasting, but to your Father who is in the secret place. And your Father who sees in secret will reward you openly. And this is a routine that Jesus has of what it has to do with not praying all big and showy on the street corner, and just not doing things for show,
Right.
but doing things in a manner that's very private. And even says, go pray in the secret place in your closet. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so
Right.
this is the other of the two things that I thought of while you were talking was the idea of fasting sort of being the reciprocal, the opposite of feasting. Because you mentioned the idea that some people eat too much.
Yeah.
I eat too much.
Yeah. That's it.
A
That's
lot
it.
of us do. Here in America, especially, this is a place where people have a weakness. It's for food, right?
Sure. Sure.
People will go and just gorge, consume quantities of food. You have buffets where you just eat. I mean, go have pasta and Chinese food and everything else in the same night.
Right. Right.
And the other side of that coin, because that's gratifying ourselves, is neglecting ourselves, saying, you know what,
Sure.
you're not the most important thing I've got. My soul is, and thereby telling your body no for a while to pay attention to the spirit.
Yeah.
And so
It's. Go ahead. Go ahead.
it's the same way you would say no to certain, uh, looking at women, the wrong way and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
These are all desires of our body,
Sure.
and it's just a matter of saying body no, spirit yes. That's kind of
It's
my
right.
approach.
It's the same thing in Islam. As a matter of fact, the Quran says Allah Subhanahu wa Taala tells us in the Quran, it says perhaps you love a thing which is bad for you, and you hate a thing which is good for you. Allah knows why you do not know. So I'll repeat that again because it can sound it kind of sound a little bit confusing when you hear it the first time. So it says, perhaps you love a thing which is bad for you, and you hate a thing which is good for you. Allah knows why you do not know. And so what that's basically saying is you love a thing, things that we indulge in, things that bring those pleasures of the flesh, whether it be food or whatever it might be, things that are things that are absolutely not good for you. So it's something that you love. It says perhaps you love a thing that's not good for you, and you hate a thing uh, which is did I say that wrong this time? Okay, so it says perhaps you love a thing which is bad for you, and you hate a thing which is good for you. Allah knows why you do not know. And basically, it's saying that you know uh, to be conscious of the things that you're doing to yourself, whatever it might be, that's not good for you. But does it bring you an instant gratification? Yes, but long term, is it worth it? So you could say someone going to commit adultery, and that's just a um, you know uh, just an
Example.
example. Yeah, example. So instantly, yeah, okay, yeah, it's gratifying, but what's the long term effects of that?
Right.
Not the sin that's involved and how it affects humanity or society as a whole. How does it affect your family? Yeah, you enjoyed yourself while you was doing it, but was it good for you? Absolutely not. And you hate a thing. Sometimes we go through tests and trials that we'd rather not go through, but it was the best thing for us. Something to get our attention. And so Alhamdulillah for the wisdom in that. And so the other aspect, the other thing that I wanted to mention in regards to putting on the show is that it's one thing that we're never supposed to do in Islam is complain or to even reveal that we're fasting, unless it is that um, if it's in a situation where someone's trying to engage you and maybe they're trying to confront you or having an argument with you or something like that, then in that instance you tell them I'm fasting, and basically that you're trying to abstain from anything you shouldn't be doing. And so in that regard, then you reveal the fact that you're fasting. Otherwise, you're supposed to kind of keep it to yourself. It's between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our God and our creator. Of course, if you're Muslim or if you're Christian, a group of Christians fasting, you know what you're doing, and it's kind of different. But even
Right. It's a
amongst
community thing with Muslims, right? The whole community is doing it. So
yeah, well, even amongst believers, you're not supposed to complain or to it's a test and it's a trial each and every moment of the day. Everything throughout the day in day out, even without fasting, is a test. But yeah, so you're not supposed to draw any attention to yourself. And it's interesting, and I find it. I don't find it shocking by no means, I'm actually familiar with the verse that you read in regards to Isa alayhi salam, Jesus, peace and blessing be upon him. For those who don't know, if I say Isa, I'm talking about Jesus, peace and blessing be upon him, the son of Mary, Alhamdulillah. And so it's so in regards to cleaning up, clean yourself with water, whatever it says it. I don't mean to read it again, just briefly.
the wind is blowing and the pages have turned, so I've got to
Oh,
find
it's
it again.
okay. Well, we know you don't have to bring it back up,
But
but
essentially,
in regards to
it's
cleaning yourself up, of course,
yourself, clean yourself. You don't want to
yeah,
appear to men. There's some people
right,
that that disfigure themselves and appear on purpose to have a sad countenance. So
yeah,
you don't want to walk around like, poor me, I'm fasting. You want to walk around put together, and
yeah,
nobody would think
right,
twice.
yeah. And so I wanted to draw attention to the fact that we do ablution or what's called wudu before each and every prayer, which is clean, yes, freshen yourself up. And we will rinse our mouth out with water, but we don't swallow. And so you don't swallow, but before every prayer we go through we cleanse ourselves basically. Yeah, and so I just wanted to draw attention to that because it's a commonality. Matter of fact, the Quran says to when we engage Christians and Jews, it says to say to them, it says, say, let's come to common terms between us and you, that we worship none other than our God, our Creator. And so of course these are all three monotheistic religions, We all believe in one God, of course. So without opening the debate to about the Trinity and things of that nature, when it boils down to it, we're still the it's still so it's still three monotheistic religions that have
Yeah.
vast similarities, and there's some differences, but there's vast similarities, alhamdulillah, because what it boils down to, by the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our God, our creator, it's even in, how can I say this, and explain it to where, well, let me just say this: by the mercy of Allah, by the mercy of Allah, people have an avenue to reach Him in Christianity. Okay, and what I mean by that is that, of course, in Islam we associate no partners with Allah, but at the same time, there's some in Christianity that don't fully understand the Trinity. Okay, that just don't fully understand it, and when they say God, they truly feel within themselves that God is one. Okay, and so in that regard, by the mercy of our God, our Creator, if it's Christianity, if it's Judaism, if it's Islam, it's still a means to reach our God, our Creator, and it's still a means to live in obedience of Him, and to seek forgiveness. And I just wanted to point that out. And when you and I talk, we talk about trying to find the common ground and actually build some bridges. Which there's going to be times when we have to go head to head about some things, but
Draw some clear
um,
lines. That's
but
something I wanted to
I just wanted to point that out about the commonality between these religions. Um, it's actually beautiful, and it's something that we should be focusing on more than we do. Um,
well, and
and
that's
that's a whole other topic, but that's a
I
whole
would
other
want to
topic.
draw attention to the fact, you and I, in what we believe, there are huge commonalities, and I think it's good. Christians can fall under criticism from other Christians for noticing and mentioning these commonalities, right?
Yeah,
If I say I pray to the God of Abraham and you say you pray to the God of Abraham, that's a commonality. If
yeah,
I say
and
Jesus,
the,
even
the
Jesus,
thing
I
is,
believe you believe in the
it's a
virgin birth.
fact.
We both believe in the return of Christ. Those are all commonalities.
Alhamdulillah.
Christians actually will sometimes undergo criticism for other Christians for drawing attention to these commonalities. Now,
Right.
one of the things that's worth mentioning, and you and I think, would both agree with this, is there are very, very, very clear and very important differences.
For sure.
And I care for you as a brother, and I believe you do the same, and we can enjoy each other's company and believe in common things and celebrate good things together. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be fasting for part of Ramadan, just as a gesture of solidarity, right?
Sure. Yeah.
That doesn't at all diminish the fact that if the conversation leads that direction, and I would stand very firmly on what I believe to be true, and I think you do the same. So,
Yeah.
for anybody who's Muslim or who's Christian who sees us talking like, "Wow, why are you talking like it's the same thing?" Well, it's not
Yeah.
the same thing,
Well, it's not.
but
Yeah,
there's
it's
so
not
much
the same
similarities
thing.
between brothers,
Yeah.
and so that's
Well,
that's all.
like I've mentioned before, in regards to what our God, our Creator, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, says in the Quran. It says, you'll find those closest to you in love, those who call themselves Christians. My goodness, somebody racing over there.
Those over here.
Yeah. So it says you'll find those uh, uh, closest to you in love, those who call themselves Christians, because among them are men devoted to learning and who shun the world, who put
In
off
the
things
Bible,
of the world. And
they
so,
should know us by our love.
huh?
I said even the Bible says that they should know us by our love.
Right, right. So, uh,
That should be the hallmark of true Christianity.
right, right. So, even though there's moments, even you and I, we've had moments where we are pretty adamant about
Right,
our
where you wrong.
positions,
Yeah.
but of course we should be. And what I enjoy about it is that I know your intention is the same as mine, which is I want you to know uh, as much about Islam as possible, and I want you to understand it clearly without any bias.
Right.
And I know you want me to know the same thing. Of course, I do have not to not
I
to
want
not to
I
tip the scales or anything like that. But go ahead.
wholeheartedly embrace Christianity. That's what I want.
Uh
And
huh.
as much as you say it's never going to happen, that's
Well,
on one
you
hand,
know,
I just want to develop brotherhood with you, and
sure.
that might be as far as it ever goes. But
Well,
if I had my way, everybody in the world would decide Christianity is the way to
for
go.
sure. I mean, it should be the same for any Muslim and any Christian and any person who is Jewish, for that matter. It should be the same thing. That it's that's a natural instinct, and therefore, when you are um, have a particular belief, you you want to hold to it, and you want to present it in the best of ways, and you're willing to fight for it sometimes. But
Something.
it needs to be done in a respectful manner. And I do find myself, because those I'm not trying to talk bad about Christianity by no means, but of course, I do come from a Christian background. For people who don't know, I come from a Christian background. I study Christianity nearly on a daily basis, so that I'm fully aware of every aspect of Christianity, and can tell most Christians far more about Christianity than they know themselves. So, but from that standpoint, um, you know, I do find myself at times, because of certain attitudes from Christians, I find myself getting uh, little impatient, and it's called sabr. We need sabr in Islam. It's patience in Islam. It's very important. It's matter of fact, many times in the Quran, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, our God, our Creator, mentions to be steadfast in patience and prayer, and He always puts patience first, because the prayer is an aspect of faith. You're praying because you have faith, but in order to have faith, you have to have a foundation of patience. If you don't have the foundation of patience, then your faith is not going to stand. So you have to be patient in order to endure whatever test and trial you're going through. And a big part of that is being patient in regards to dealing with certain types of attitudes from both sides. I'm sure it's not just people are
That's
going to
happening.
be people.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are going to be people, and people are going to argue their position. And the Quran does say, "Invite to the way of your Lord with wisdom and kind words." You and I have talked about that before. And so, may Allah forgive me for any time that if I lose my patience and don't present myself in the best manner. And I'm not saying that you know we're all. What I'm trying to do is just be simply honest, and because there's more. I think I have more frustration within me than I actually show sometimes, and so maybe I beat myself up a little bit about it. But I know that there's times where I'm really direct and straightforward, and but I try to do it in a manner in which I'm not. I try not to offend, but I'm trying to come straight at the person and tell them, what I know, and present my position as a Muslim from a just a straightforward in a straightforward manner. Usually, when it's dealing with those types of attitudes, that the type of people who, if you use the word Allah, they think you're worshiping a different God, when in reality we're talking about the same God of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. Peace and blessings be upon all of them. So,
Well, and I would say, since you're on that subject about how we each, me and many other Christians, you and many other Muslims, how we each conduct ourselves, I should say, um, on behalf of all kinds of Christians, I apologize, because there's a lot of Christians who will purposefully, and I see this on the internet. I've never seen it in person because people are unnecessarily bold on the internet,
yeah,
but they'll purposefully prod and poke and say, well, you guys are praying to a black stone in the desert,
yeah,
or they'll equate um, Islam with Hinduism, which is ridiculous, because Hinduism, there's like 1,000 gods, and
right,
if you boil down Islam to three words, it would be Allah is one, right? And so
Absolutely.
there's Christians who I say Christians because they present themselves to be Christians. I don't know what they are inside, but
Yeah.
I know they're identify as Christians who intentionally prod and make things difficult. And they'll say it's a religion of Satan, started by Satan, and that kind of thing. And
Well,
if all the worst things you've ever heard about Islam were all true, that's still no way to change anybody's mind or compel them or influence them or show them love.
yeah,
If all
yeah.
the you're not gonna have some Muslim that says, "Well, thank you, Mr. Christian, for calling my God Satan, and yes, I want to hear more about what you believe." It'll never
Yeah,
happen.
yeah.
It's just it's horrible.
But
So
yeah,
I apologize.
that's
All Christian
that's
stuff.
you,
I try not to.
well,
But
you certainly you don't fall into that category. That's why I refer to you uh, all the time as the most Muslim Christian that I know, because you do you have a great just a just real peaceful attitude. You're real easy to interact with. You're polite, and I'm not going to say I haven't had moments. I've had moments where I'm you know, uh, being a little more abrupt with you, because of just that. Because I do have love for you, and because um, you know, I don't. If I see any inkling of you making any kind of comment similar to that of the Christians that we're talking about. I don't want this conversation to be pointing fingers at Christianity by no means. That's not what I'm trying to do. But what I'm just trying to say is the attitude on either side, where I've seen Muslims do the same thing. I've actually called Muslims out on just being
yes,
rude and being where you'll see a one meme of the Prophet Muhammad, a so-called meme of the Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace and blessing be upon him, where someone drew some kind of ugly picture and they posted this, and the Muslims feel like they need to respond in the same manner, and that's not the way to go. That's not the route to take, and
but
so what it
the
boils down
opposite.
to, it like
Like I said, the
in
worst is on the internet. I've seen it on both sides.
yeah, it's on both sides. It's people being people, and this is a great time during the month of Ramadan, back to the fasting, to avoid that type of stuff. To establish
I
a
was
new way of handling things, and to establish patience, and do everything in the obedience of our God, our Creator. What would our God,
so
our Creator, expect out of us? Go ahead.
on fasting. Okay, so since I'm a Christian and I know this much about Islam, um, can I tell you what my understanding is of
Sure,
Ramadan, and perhaps you can draw clarification, because there may be many Christians who have limited understanding on what Ramadan is, right?
sure, sure.
Uh, so my understanding is that Muslims consider Ramadan their most holy month,
Yes,
that they're obligated to fast. Uh,
yes,
Fasting, as you've already described, doesn't include just foregoing food, but foregoing water and things that, to use to use Christian terminology, carnal things that
yes, and
those
also some other. I don't mean to
believers
interrupt you,
understand.
but I don't mean to interrupt you, but I want to make sure that we don't. There's some other aspects to the fast that we need to discuss. But go ahead with what you're saying.
Okay, so those are the things I understand so far. I understand that during that time, that you fast those things during daylight hours.
Yes,
That often there's a meal preceding daylight hours. So you'll get up before sunrise, have a meal together, and that often there's a meal at the close uh, of the day when the sun's set again, where you break the fast. And you usually do this as a communal sort of thing.
sure.
Um, uh, what I've heard as a Christian is that in some cases these before and after meals can become excessive. And I assume that Islam would say, well, you're not supposed to get excessive and crazy with it. The fast isn't a feast.
Yeah.
Um, but is that basically the gist of it? You're fasting during
That-
daylight hours. You, as a community, have a meal together before and a meal together after.
yes, that's pretty much it. And um, in regards to overindulging, okay, so um, some people say they actually gain weight during Ramadan. I myself find myself requiring less and less food as the month goes, and matter of fact, eat very little and I'm already full, and so you're supposed to eat healthy on top of the fact that you're fasting throughout the day. Whenever you break the fast, you want to drink water. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to also eat dates. There's a lot of dates are very, very, very healthy food to eat, and also it's a little bit not too sweet, but just sweet enough
Give you
to
that sugar
yeah,
boost.
for something
Yeah.
sweet. And so the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to break the fast, of course, with water and dates, and then of course you eat something else as well. And so you're supposed to eat in moderation, and that's what I wanted to bring up in regards to other aspects of why we fast. Very, very, very important, which is um, to be conscious of those who are less fortunate. So a very, very crucial and very important aspect of it, while you're denying yourself, you're also conscious of those that are doing without, not by choice, but by just their circumstances. That
Yeah.
literally go hours throughout the day. It's hard for us to comprehend this in America, but think about this. Just right down the road, I'm just right outside of Houston right now, right about 30 minutes from downtown, and of course, you're in a metropolitan area of California,
Yeah. I mean,
for the
not
most
not at
part.
the.
Okay,
Yeah.
so there's multiple bridges that we can go to in downtown Houston, and you'll see homeless everywhere.
Oh,
Tents,
yeah. Same here.
yeah, tents,
Here,
and so
Tent City.
you
Yeah.
consider these people. These people are in very serious hardship, and there's people in other countries that are even worse than this. And so, of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best, but a lot of these people are going hours throughout the day without food, and guess what? Hours throughout the day without water, our biggest commodity in the world by far, and people are going hours upon hours, hour after hour throughout the day with no water. And it's hard for us to fathom that and comprehend that. And here we are steadily drinking Cokes and Dr. Peppers, and I drink way too many Diet Dr. Peppers. I'll be honest with you. Okay, and so during the month of Ramadan, it gives me an opportunity to stop drinking so many Diet Dr. Peppers and be conscious of what I'm putting in my body. So from a personal standpoint, mentally, spiritually, physically, as well as being conscious of those that they don't. How dare we eat and overindulge and how, you know this might seem like a not that big of an issue, but really it is. How do you go buy soda and cokes or whatever? How are you soda pop or whatever people want to refer to it, depending on where you're located in the country? You know what I'm getting at. You go buy
Yeah.
this, but people don't have water, and it makes you so appreciative of the water itself. The water is so crucial and so vital. It makes me personally, I mean, just talking from my own personal standpoint, it makes me appreciate water so much more. When I'll be honest, I can't wait to drink the water. Um, at the end of the fast. And it's but in all of it, it's we need to be very conscious of people that are doing without, and also during the month of Ramadan, the other obligation for Muslims in the month of Ramadan, which is very, very important, because we have become conscious. We should be more conscious of those that are doing without than we give what's called sadaqat. So the five pillars of Islam is to bear witness there's only one God, and that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is his final servant, the Prophet, and to observe the fast during the month of Ramadan, to establish regular prayer, and to make the journey of Hajj, at least to journey to Mecca at least once in a lifetime if you possibly can. Did I make all of them? Bear witness on one God. So anyway, so yeah, so there's five pillars of Islam, and so in regards to the fast, uh, Oh, to give to charity. That's yeah. So I was missing one. To give to charity. That's a must. It's called zakat. But there's also a variation of zakat. Zakat is a monetary. It's like get paying tithes basically. So the Muslims are required to pay tithes, but also it says Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran to spend out of what we have provided for you, which is sadaqat, which means not just monetarily, but spend out of your time and your efforts and trying to do good, trying to help people, and being conscious, give to charity, and try to help people any possible way that you can. So not only do we go to observe the fast for our own benefit, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically as well, but to make effort even more than usual and make effort to help others that are actually in far worse conditions than you are. So in the middle of your sacrifice, and you're doing without by choice for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our God, our creator, you're supposed to give on top of that, to give and do it with, once again, with no audience. Do it that with only you and our God and our creator knowing what you're doing. Don't give to seek recognition from anyone. Don't even let them know that you're doing it. What is the Bible? I think the Bible says that don't let your right hand know what your left hand is doing, or something like that, something similar to
Exactly
that.
right. That's
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So
So
my
it's the
time
same
is limited.
concept.
I'm down to my last few minutes.
Okay.
So when you mentioned going without drink, I've never fasted in a way where I don't have water, right? And as you were talking about how you can't wait at the end of the day to have that water, the first thing you really want is water. It reminded me, right? In the Psalms, David writes of God, as the deer pants for the water, my soul longs after you, right?
Mm,
And just that extreme thirst, or even hunger. Hunger is another like uncontrollable desire that's in us. That extreme hunger. I would encourage, whether Muslim or Christian, anybody who's fasting, when you have that moment of thirst or that moment of hunger, remember how much you should thirst for your Creator, how much you
sure.
should thirst, hunger for your Creator, because there's nothing else that. Well, it's when Jesus was in the wilderness, right? He was tempted of the devil. He says, "Man doesn't live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God."
Yeah.
This stuff that we use to sustain ourselves is far less important than our Creator. So I wanted to bring that out. I also wanted
Yeah.
to, for anybody who is going to, any Christian who is going to fast, just as a disclaimer, I would never encourage any Christian to fast water from water more than 3 days, probably not even 2 full days. Christians, you generally fast in a full 24-hour day, right?
Yeah.
So when you read about Jesus in the wilderness fasting 40 days and 40 nights, that was 40 24-hour periods. And so if you're a Christian, you think, I'm going to go without water, don't do it for more than a day or two, because
Well,
that's not the Muslims will drink water in the evening. And so if you're going to say, hey, I'm trying this out, maybe try it out like they do. Fast water during the day.
okay.
But for 24 hours, sure, don't do it for any longer, because you die without water pretty quickly.
Right.
Uh,
So let me say something real quick in regards to fasting. Okay. So and this is not to. I'm trying to say this in the most respectful manner. Okay. And so the Quran, one of the names of the Quran is Al Furqan. Al Furqan, which is the criterion. And it says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our God, our creator, which, for those who don't know, in Islam, the Quran is the direct speech of our God, our creator. It's not words according to men and things of that nature. I'm not trying to open up the door to criticizing Christianity. I'm just trying to explain for those who don't know, the Quran is the literal speech of our God, our creator. And it says that the Quran is the criterion between what's right and what's wrong. And so, and what I'm bringing this up about and the reason I'm bringing this up is because in the manner in which one fasts. Okay, so without being offensive and not without being I'm not trying to be offensive by no means, but what I'm trying to do is cause you and other people to think about this from a medical standpoint. And I know you got to go, but so in regards to not, of course we have to have water, right? We have to have water, but as in regards to not eating for a 24-hour period, if you look that up from a medical standpoint, there's going to be reasons not to do that. There's going to be reasons not to do that, and so whether if that makes sense. So if you look into it, we don't have to make the debate right now, but if you look into it, there's going to be reasons why one should not go that long of a period without eating. Whereas as in Islam, during not eating or not drinking during the daylight hours, but at that point you can, um, you do, you're able to take in food and take in water. It's far healthier. It's going to be far more healthy for you, because if you don't eat, you know what your body's going to begin to do. If your body does not eat, if you don't take in food, your brain is going to think that you're starving yourself. And what does your body do at that point? It begins to store fat. It's going to automatically, you're not going to have any control of it. Your desire and your effort, that's one thing, and that's all for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our God, our creator, and the intention is great. But the method of it is not necessarily correct, because if you deny yourself the food, your body's automatically going to go into starvation mode, and it's going to begin to store up things that it does not need. Whereas if you go a period of time and then you take in food, it's a reminder to your body and to your brain that, okay, I'm not really starving to death. I'm doing this, and it's difficult for a period of time or whatever. But if you understand what I'm getting at,
I do.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm no medical doctor. I'm not in a position to give anybody advice. And people, if you're going to fast in either way, the way Muslims do or the way Christians do, I say they should consult their doctor, right? At the same time, depending on what source in both cases, I'd say it's important to fast properly. If you fast improperly, you can do damage to your body. I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
There are also references you can see where there's some medical benefits, right? And so that's worth each person, researching on their own, I would say.
Sure.
For myself, I find myself, if I'm going without eating, by about day 3, I find myself more alert, myself with more energy. I find myself more productive. I feel like as we overdo this whole eating thing, we tend to store up toxins, it seems like, and we're really weighing ourselves down. Our bodies digest all this stuff, and if anybody's celebrated Thanksgiving, they know after you eat your Thanksgiving meal, you just want to zone out and fall asleep for a while. And I feel like in my life, it's been the opposite of that when I fast. And, if the person's going to try fasting in 24-hour periods, I'd say do it for one day, not 40 by any means, I usually fast at a time will be, 3 or 4 days usually. And in some cases, it's been longer. I'm not going
to just consider this, and I not once again, I'm not trying to undermine that method of fasting by no means, but keep in mind. So I'm glad you brought up in regards to cleansing yourself and basically detoxing yourself for the fast. It's detoxing yourself physically, mentally, and spiritually. Alhamdulillah, praise be to God. So that's one thing for sure. And so, but consider this: if you just try it. If you go this period of time and then you're very conscious about what you take in, you want to take in fruits and vegetables and anything that's healthy for you. Matter of fact, the Quran says, "Eat of the good things of which we have provided for you." It says, "Eat of the good things." Not don't go to the burger joint and break your fast. That's not going to work. But eat of the good things which we have provided for you. All the numerous things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our God, our creator, has provided for us on this earth. I was thinking about this today. I know you got to go, but I was thinking about, I seen a bird come by It was yesterday. A bird come by and he came and swooped something off the ground, and instantly, alhamdulillah, and I thought, praise be to God, our Creator. I start looking around. He's provided for every living thing, whether it be an animal, a human being, or a plant or a tree or whatever, fish of the ocean, whatever. He's provided for each and every one of us. And so, for those that are being tested through hardship and through those difficulties, it's a test for us as well to be conscious of those people. But anyway, so I wanted to make that point, but also in regards to breaking the fast with healthy things, if you're still gonna feel good if you're breaking your fast, being very conscious about, I'm going to break it by eating fruit. I'm going to replenish rehydrate myself with fruit. I personally like pineapple. I ate a lot of pineapple during Ramadan, and so because I like pineapple, but fruits and vegetables and things that aren't going to be heavy on you. Matter of fact, as the month proceeds, you're not going to want to eat heavy things anyways. You're going to realize that, man, I've been eating way too much. I don't need even half of this stuff that I've been eating, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us all for overindulging. How dare we do that when there's people in this world that are truly starving and hungry. I want to say one last thing, which is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says in the hadith that the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him, he couldn't hardly sleep at night if he had anything left in his home. That he had every opportunity to live the life of a king, basically. Matter of fact, the Quraysh, they tried to tempt him with telling him, if you just stop preaching about Islam, stop this talk about Islam, we'll give you all the money you want, all the women you want, all this and all that. We'll give you anything that we can offer you to stop. And you know what he told him? He said, if you tell them that if they were to put the sun in my right hand and the moon in my left, I would not give up this message of Islam. Alhamdulillah. So the Prophet Muhammad would go overboard in giving during the month of Ramadan, even more than other times. He would give more. I want to say this. He would focus on three things in particular: the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our God, our Creator. He would increase the prayer. We'd pray 5 times a day at least. He would increase it even more, to the point that his companions would ask him, "Oh, Prophet of Allah, why are you praying so much that your feet are swollen?" His feet would actually swell up from standing and, the way we pray. And they said, you've already been promised paradise. You've already been promised heaven. Why are you continuing to pray to the point where your feet are swollen? And his response to him was, should a slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our God, our Creator, should a slave not be thankful? And if you think about the wisdom in that, all the gifts that we've been blessed with, and it doesn't matter what we've been promised, we still have a responsibility to thank our God, our Creator, for everything that He's given us. So He would increase worship, He would increase giving to charity, which is sadaqah, and He would increase personal prayer. So the prayer, just quickly, the prayer in Islam, whenever we line up and we pray in Islam, it's called salat. That's actually worshiping God. Then our dua is our personal prayer, just like you would pray and saying, "Dear Lord, help me. My head's killing me. I've got stress. I'm worried about this." We pray in your own words. Basically, that's called dua. So he would increase in those three things: in worship, which is going through the prayer, and when we prostrate, more worship, more giving to charity, and more conversation with Allah through personal prayer all throughout the day. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. So I know you got to go. I don't mean to hold you up, but I've really enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah, kind of closing notes from my perspective. Sure. I would say if there's a Christian who's watching this who hasn't really engaged in fasting, or if there's a Muslim, even though it's an obligatory thing, maybe you've neglected to do it if you're a Muslim. For either one, I think we both agree, do it in a way that's not about you. It's about drawing your attention to your Creator.
Alhamdulillah.
Do it in a way that's, you're mindful of your need for Him, your dependency on Him. I think we both agree on that too.
Yes, and, absolutely.
The other thing I saw that we both agreed on, kind of, pro tip, is when you break your fast, do it gently.
Yeah,
Fast before, but it's time to, I told you before, Kenny, about a time where I broke my fast, with a spicy chicken sandwich.
Yeah, you told me that.
I regretted that one. So if you haven't done it before, whenever you get to that point where you're going to be eating again, take it easy. Take it really, really easy, and give
Yeah.
yourself time to handle it. More of a practical thing than a spiritual one.
Yeah.
But thank you for spending some time with me. I did spend about 10 minutes more than I planned, so I'm going to
Yeah.
let you go. And may God bless you richly during the month of Ramadan.
Hey, you mean a lot to me. And I've actually have enjoyed this conversation quite a bit. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our God, our creator, accept our efforts to share Christianity, to share the beauty of Islam. Just the same, may He reward you for your efforts and reward me for my efforts, and may He have mercy on both of us on the Day of Judgment. I do want to end by saying, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. I bear witness there's no God other than Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is His final servant and the seal of all prophets. And I bear witness that Isa alayhi salam, Jesus ibn Maryam, the son of Mary, is one of the 5 mightiest messengers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I mean that with with the utmost respect.
I know.
Because I'm basically saying that for the Christians that may be watching or listening that don't know what Muslims feel about Jesus. We love Jesus. Peace and blessings be upon him with all of our hearts.
Good topic for another video, right? We can get on. I said good topic for another video. We can talk about your view of Jesus, my view of Jesus.
Sure. I'll let you get going. I'll talk about this kind of stuff all night long. So you better get out of here, and you will too. I know.
I got some commitments I got to attend to though.
We've proved that through staying up in the middle of the night, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, texting each other, debating one another. So, all right. Anyway, hey, look, I'm glad I've met you. Even though, inshallah, God willing, I plan to meet you in person one of these days. And I'm serious about that. I want to do that. I want to give you a big hug.
That's the same.
Yeah, I want to give you a big hug, man, and I mean that with all my heart. Hey, but let me tell you the last thing. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to come straight at you if I need to.
No, I'll tell you where you're wrong at. I'll tell you where you're wrong at.
You tell me where I'm wrong, and I'm going to do the same for you. Hey, man, get out of here.
All right, man.
Assalamu alaikum. Shalom alaikum. Bye-bye.
All right. Alaikum salam.
Bye-bye.